My name is Tim Caron, co-founder and head coach here at Allegiate. My background actually is important to go through because it's going to tie in nicely to what the emphasis of this video is. I was a college strength conditioning coach for over 10 years. My most recent job was a head strength coach for football at Army West Point. I also worked at University of Southern California as an associate, and I worked at Georgia Tech as an associate. And one of the things that we learned is being efficient and effective. Why? Because our jobs are on the line. What do we have to do is, one, reduce the rate of injury, right? Because if our best players aren't playing, we don't have a job. But then two, find ways to maximize performance with that first rule always in place. So where does that leave us, right? What are the things that are going to net the biggest results in not only the shortest period of time, but also really doing it the least possible harm? And that kind of ties into what we set up here, right? So our origin story is a couple former athletes contacted me and were like, hey, we want a place to work out. We want to create a place of our own. Can we partner together and let's try to create something? The experience we had in college strength conditioning now as post-playing days, and I still want to get great value and I want to do it in minimal time, but I don't want to get hurt in the process of doing it. So here we go, right? We have this concept now that's full running. We've been operational for over 2 years with 200 members now coming in 3 times a week being treated like college athletes. And what the net result is focusing on strength training, right? And you're going to evaluate this based off of what other options are out there. And a lot of them are cardiovascular focused. And we're not saying cardiovascular exercise is bad or in any way not important. We're just looking at what's going to be the most value for your time, right? So if we look at paying a personal trainer and coming in and I want to get stronger and I want to look better and I want to feel better, they're going to focus on resistance training done in a systematic way tailored to you. And what we're saying is we can do that in a group setting based off the experiences we had in college, based off our jobs being on the line, and now we can parlay that same emphasis in terms of the biggest value in the shortest period of time with the least possible harm in a group training setting. So if you come to Allegiate, you'll see a lot of strength training, right? And the end goal is not to make you look like a bodybuilder. The goal is to make you look and feel better exactly how you want to do it. And we feel strength training is one, not only the most scalable thing, right? So if you have no experience, the easiest thing to do is go down in weight. If you have a ton of experience, the easiest thing to do is go up in weight. And somewhere in the middle, we can find this perfect program between, hey, I have a lot of experience, I want to get strong, I want to look better, versus, hey, I'm just getting started, I'm not really familiar with this, maybe I'm a little intimidated. Great, we have perfect answer for both of you. Not to mention too of like the systemic effect from doing structured strength training. It has this like residual like kind of like follow through, right? Where cardiovascular stuff, albeit still really important, we can actually get that benefit from doing a structured strength training program with this constant emphasis off of, hey, I'm not feeling great. Okay, we can modify this today. Well, a lot of times in a cardiovascular focused class, it is what it is. You have to do what is there or you don't get anything out of it. Where us is, hey, maybe you're a little sore, or maybe you're a little beat up, or maybe you had a crappy night's sleep, or maybe you've been traveling. We can make the amendments and the concessions in the program to keep getting you results. Not to mention this too of like the cardiovascular benefit from doing strength training is going to be tenfold as much as we can get out of a cardiovascular class in a much safer and much more actual like holistic and really actually value type of situation, right? So movement patterns that we can scale and modify and even progress versus just doing redundant patterns that might put you unnecessarily at risk that is limited to what they can do there. That's why we focus on strength training. You know, it's not because I love strength training or because, oh man, I love the squat, so therefore everyone else should squat. It's really focused on what's going to get the best net result. And we found this, right? My job was on the line every single year. And if we didn't do the most effective things, they'll find someone else who could. And that same information is parlayed now into this setting. And we have the benefit of knowing how to incorporate that in a group, not only off of like working with college athletes and their interest in their getting them engaged is really important, but we look at that now as like, hey, a really good way to set up not only our facility, but instruct our coaches, train our coaches to really create an environment that's not only safe, but engaging and fun, that we can constantly get the incurred benefit out of strength training without the risk, right? And that's a beautiful thing about why we do what we do, is because we're going to get a better net result with not any of the risk, and on top of it, not having to compromise this like feeling of like, oh man, I'm not feeling 100% at the snub. I can still get great value today. And we'll have a bunch of different tracks where we can go up to this higher level in terms of team. So the experience level guys out there looking to get a little bit more. I've been training for a while. I played high level athletics. Great, we got that option for you. Hey, I'm just getting started. Get entered in terms of strength, maybe that's where you stay. Maybe that's where you get the incurred value. And the beautiful thing is we have a ton of different value in both. It's just going to be specific to you and where you start or what you need, right? We have a lot of experienced guys who, hey, I got a really gnarly schedule. I got a lot of things. I travel, I got family, I work, all this stuff. Or maybe I do a lot of stuff outside of here, like, hey, I do triathlons or I run. Strength might be a really good option to accommodate all the other stuff in your life. Or it just might be an option to just use and just say, I can get a lot of value out of this, and my rest of my day is still really good because I'm not just destroyed from a workout I just did. Not saying that we don't want to train hard, but we do want to get a lot of value out of the session, and that's not always walking out of here crawling and your tongue dragging on the floor. That's saying, am I getting better over a longer period of time? And minimal effective dose has always been our view on that, is looking at what do we need to do today to get you better in the timeline that you want to get better at. And that doesn't necessarily mean every day needs to be a 10 on the Richter scale. It could be, hey, I got really good mobility in, I got really good movement, I feel some sort of like visceral response. And the thing we can go back to is we can scale it, right? So if you're feeling good, we can add load. If you're not feeling good, okay, we're just going to stay according to the plan, and then we're going to keep moving in that direction. So coming back to this idea of why we use strength training, it just gets better net results. It gets better work in a period of time that you can allot for us, as opposed to just doing strictly cardiovascular work, where there's a finite amount of things that you can get from that relative to what we can get, but we can add that in conjunction with what we're doing, and we will. We'll incorporate that any given moment based off the needs of what we're looking for our clientele and our members. But the idea is that we can get this and still add that is really the first and foremost. And putting trust in someone who's going to treat you like my job's along the line, I think that's a really good thing to start with. And then moving forward of maximizing your results based off the things that get the best net return, that's always going to be our goal and our focus. And strength training really does a great job of leveraging that for us.